Hi there, it's Miss Picken checking in with you again for our virtual hatch. So today we're going to be doing an experiment using an unfertilized egg. We're going to be looking at the contents. Now, if you haven't watched our first two videos, I don't want you to miss out. So please make sure that you go back and watch those. It'd be a good idea to do that, in fact, before you begin this one. Now, on those videos, we talked about and explained the difference between fertilized and unfertilized eggs. So unfertilized eggs, the ones that you buy at the store, first of all, please don't feel guilty about going to the store, getting those, and eating them, mostly because they're really nutritious and they're an inexpensive way to have good way to meet your basic needs, one of which is food. You are an animal after all, and so you can't create your own food, and eggs are a good way to meet your nutritional needs. Now, unfertilized eggs, in that case, it's the hen doing all the work by herself. For a fertilized egg, the hen still does the vast majority of the work. But we did talk about with those other videos that the rooster puts in an addition, so to speak, that the DNA, the genetic material from the mom and the dad comes together before the eggshell is formed around those. Okay, that's a fertilized egg again. But of course, that's not the end of the process. Now, the puzzle has been completed, but there's a lot of change that's going to continue to happen. What's going on inside a fertilized egg is a change every single day. Each and every day, something new will be happening, something new will develop, as long as those eggs are continuing to be incubated. So let's talk about the science here, the changing that we're going to call the just beginning, the tip of the iceberg for the life cycle of the chicken. So we're going to open up an unfertilized egg. Now, these are easier to come by than a fertilized egg. Of course, now with the COVID crisis going on, they're not quite as easy to get as they would be. But I do have some extra eggs here, so that's what we're going to be using today. So I have cracked open an egg in an interesting way. So if you were doing this yourself, then you would make sure, which you could tell I've already done anyways, you would put on gloves for your own protection, and if you were cracking open an egg, then you'd be using some sort of eye protection as well. When you're doing this, you'd probably be like you were cooking, cracking open an egg like this. Now, you can tell that's not exactly how we did this today, and I wanted to make sure that when we opened up this egg that we didn't disturb any of the contents inside. So I wanted to be able to put this out in a way for you to look at the contents without them being scrambled in any way. So here it is up close. Now you won't be able to see every single thing that you'll be able to see once this is out of the eggshell itself, but let's take a look at what we can see. It's pretty easy to see that there's the yolk, the yellow part that you're very familiar with. You'll notice the kind of watery looking stuff. The clear part that when we cook it turns white, so that's typically what we call that part of the egg is the white. If you look on each end, you might be able to tell that there's something that kind of holds that yolk in the middle. We're going to talk a little bit more about that once I pour it out, and we're going to kind of go back and forth between a diagram and the actual egg itself. And you might be able to see as well, kind of hard that I'm looking at it from a different angle than you are, you might be able to see somewhere on the yolk a light or bright spot, kind of maybe looks like a white spot that isn't part of the egg white. Obviously, you can see the shell. That goes without saying. And then there are places where the egg shell peeled away, but there's still a membrane sitting there. So it's kind of like a thin skin. It's kind of how you might think of that right there. That's right along the inside of the shell. And that serves an important purpose, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pour this out, hopefully without making too much of this go in ways I don't want it to go. Kind of keeping it in the same shape or form that it had inside there. Here we have our shell. Right on the inside of the shell, here's a good place for you to see that. There's a membrane, which you've probably seen. It's sort of like the skin on the inside of a shell that you've probably seen before when you've cracked an egg. Here are our contents. So we'll start off with describing and using the words that you're probably familiar with for when you crack open an egg to cook at home. So here's our yolk, that's the yellow. Then what's clear here is what turns white if we cook it. So that's typically what we call that part. We call it the egg white. Then if you get to look really a little bit more closely here, you'll see some things that maybe you're a little bit less familiar with or haven't paid that much attention to just when using eggs to cook with. So on this side here, you'll notice a little white, sort of an attachment to the yolk. It's on that side as well. And then depending upon how the light is hitting this, there's also a spot somewhere on there that I'll show you on a diagram here in a second. So the other thing that you really can't distinguish, but that is going on in here, the reason that that egg yolk stays solid instead of breaking apart is there's another membrane there that surrounds it. So we're going to come back and talk when we're looking at a drawing or a diagram about what the purpose of these things is, but also what to call some of these other things when it's a little bit more clear for you to kind of understand what shape they take when you can look at them as a whole as opposed to kind of jiggling around here on the plate. So now that we've looked at it in real life, we're going to look at some drawings to help you kind of, obviously this is a little bit more still, and we're going to go back and use the same terminology and kind of compare the two to help your brain really soak up this material. So we have the eggshell, then inside of it we have the membrane. Now a membrane allows air to pass into without any of the contents because there's little bitty holes all in this eggshell that allowing air to pass in, but that membrane also ensures that none of the liquid contents of the egg leak out. There's the membrane here around the outside of the yolk. Here's our yolk, obviously. Here's our white. Here's these connectors, those white things that we could kind of see but not necessarily understand exactly how they were positioned or what the point of those was. We call these chalazi. And the point of them is actually to hold this yolk suspended in the middle, if you will. And then we have our emptiness, our kind of empty space here, that's just an air cell. As the embryo is developing early on in our incubation, the period that we're in now, we don't have what is scientifically accurate to call a chick. What we have is an embryo. And the air cell isn't really important at this point, but shortly before hatching that will come into play and the chick will actually be breathing air at that point. So our cell, our membrane, our white, which we can also call the albumin, our yolk, and the other thing I'm going to point out on this picture before I show you something else is this white spot right here, which is a germ spot. It just looks like a dot, a light colored spot that you may have been able to see on the egg itself. I'm going to put this down and show you another drawing. This one's in color. It's not that it has anything different. It's just a little bit different for us to look at. It might help you kind of see it in a different way. It's turned different. So our egg shell, remember it has lots of holes in it, but that membrane that's right on the inside ensures that while air can pass in, liquid contents don't leak out. Here's our albumin, the white of the egg, along with those connectors. They sort of look like ropes that hold the yolk in the middle, our air cell, and then our light colored spot or dot, which is on this drawing right here. Okay, so let's fill in a few blanks and mention, the shell, of course, I'm sure your brain already worked this puzzle out, protects everything. It allows the hen to sit on there. It allows us to put the eggs that we have inside an incubator without anything leaking out or going anywhere. Then we have the yolk and the albumin that we haven't really talked about what's the point of them. Now, we understand that if we were eating eggs, then that's what we scramble up, and that's what's going to make that nutrition for us. But guess what? For an embryo, a developing chick, for that chick shortly before it hatches, this is nutrition for them. They have those same basic needs. So our yolk serves the purpose of giving them vitamins, minerals, some fat, and a whole lot of protein. Protein for them, protein for us if we were eating unfertilized eggs. And the white provides a little bit of protein also, but the other thing that it does is provides a source of water. So this liquidy content here keeps things protected. It's sort of a cushion so that when something like a hen is sitting on that egg, she's not crushing anything. She's definitely not weighing down or impacting the yolk, because in the middle of the egg is also where we know that embryo is going to develop. And we know that because of this spot right here. So I'm going to put this one right next to picture of an actual fertilized egg. And the point here isn't to look at anything new. We have the same contents from here to there. The difference is the germ spot. So on this fertilized egg picture, our spot looks a little bit more like a donut. So we have that dot in the middle, and then we have a ring around it. And what that tells us is that we're looking at here a fertilized egg. So think back. We're going to come back to that picture in a second, but I want you to take a trip down memory lane with me for a second. Think back to the last time that you sat down at the lunch table with your friends at school. So perhaps you were unpacking a lunchbox that was packed at home, or perhaps you had gotten your tray, gone through the lunch line, sat down, and here we go. Let's dig into our lunch. I'm unpacking mine. I've got a peanut butter sandwich. You know, that helps me grow those protein-packed muscles. I've got my carrots, good for things like my eyes. I've got an apple, so I'm keeping balance, my vitamins and minerals. Does this kind of ring a bell for the stuff that the hen packed into the egg for that growing, developing baby chick? We've got our bottle of water. Of course, we all know we got to have water. Not only is it on our basic needs list, but our bodies are using water all the time, and we have to replenish it. The other thing that might be in my lunchbox that the hen definitely did not pack inside of our egg shell over there was something like a Hershey's Kiss or a mini Snickers. Now, if we're being just truly honest, that treat might be my mom's way of encouraging me to eat all my healthy food before I have my dessert. Like, don't eat this before you eat all of that. Or it might just be to put a smile on my face. Now, animals in the wild have their favorite things to eat, but they don't eat things that don't serve a purpose. They don't eat things that aren't good for them in some way. So they don't have a Hershey's Kiss. They will only eat what is benefiting them. They will only eat what they need to eat. So they're filling their basic needs, but they're maybe not being the guilty, greedy, maybe animals that we are when we have that Hershey's Kiss or that mini Snickers. Okay, so let's go back and think about these pictures. Let's review using the terminology that we were using before. So we're, of course, missing here the shell and the membrane. We do have a membrane around our yolk. We can kind of look at our chalazi. We have our germ spot. But because this is a fertilized egg, we're going to call that again, this is sort of using vocabulary that you're going to focus in a little bit more as you continue going up in science, a blastodisc. So that blastodisc is all the genetic material that's going to divide, and grow so that we begin to form something that will resemble eventually, in 21 days, our baby chick. Now, before that egg shell was formed around these contents, the chicken, the hen, and the rooster both set things in stone. That DNA is not something that's going to change. So what we have going on inside of a fertilized egg, that DNA puzzle that's been completed has already determined what size that chick can possibly grow to, what color its feathers will be, not only as a chick when it hatches, but also as an adult, what color its legs will be, what color its beak will be. It's even determined how many toes it will have. Did you know that not every single breed of chicken has the same number of toes? And the other thing that has already been decided is whether each one of those hatching eggs will hatch a male or a female. So in other words, a boy or a girl. That is not the case for every single egg layer in the world. Think about reptiles. So, sea turtles, for example. When those eggs are laid, their DNA puzzle has been completed and they've been sealed up inside of an eggshell. But when they're put into the ground, while a lot of things have already been decided, almost everything, the one thing that hasn't been decided is whether what will hatch will be a male or a female. So let's just say there's 100 eggs put into the ground. We could hatch all males. We could hatch all females, not because the mom or the dad decided that as part of their DNA puzzle, but because the temperature of the sand is actually the determining factor. We could hatch 100 females. We could hatch a mix of those things. But when a chicken lays an egg, that's not going to change. She's going to use her body to incubate them. The sand is not going to do the job, and it's already decided. So we have 18 eggs in our incubator. We already have, even though I don't know what the answer or the end result is going to be, we already have a set number of males and a set number of females. Now, let's go back to our pictures and talk about how things changing each and every single day along the way. So if we started our eggs on Thursday, that means on Thursday we were looking at day 1. And on day 2, which was Friday, even though it's probably hard to see in this picture, there were already blood vessels developing inside for that embryo. And on day 3, even though we can't tell it by the picture, on day 3, on Saturday, that embryo had a beating heart. On Sunday, which was day 4, we had a brain with 3 parts, and eyes would be visible if we were looking at this through a magnifying glass or a microscope instead of just looking with our eyes at the video. Today, on day 5, what we have is limb formation. So the embryo has developed wings, and its body is in the shape of a C because the lower body is forming as well and lengthening. On day 6, so tomorrow, we would be able to see, if again we were looking with a more scientific tool than just our eyes, we would be able to see, though, a heart, a brain, and eyes. The new development will be a beak. And believe it or not, on day 6, that chick, the growing, developing embryo, will be able to move voluntarily. It will be able to choose for itself to move. We should be able to see that happening when we're back together again on April the 20th. On that day, we won't be looking at pictures. I'm going to take a flashlight and shine it through the eggshell at our actual fertilized eggs. We'll take them briefly out of our incubator, shine the bright light so we can peek at the development going on without interrupting the process. You won't want to miss that day. It'll be very exciting. Be sure to tune in on that day. So, a quick review of all that terminology. We are missing here our eggshell, which is a shelter, if we think back, connecting this to our basic needs, and our membrane that prevents anything from leaking out. Then we have our yolk, which is held in place by the chalazi. We have our white, and we have our germ spot, which here looks like our donut because that's going to be where the chick begins to develop. Thank you so much for learning with me today. I'm so glad you took the time to do this. We're going to be back again for more experiments, more learning as we continue our countdown. Again, don't forget to tune in on April the 20th for candling. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again